Welcome to my studio and Jumpstart 5B. This is the second part of the Bud's Hut painting sequence, the video where we're going to actually paint the painting. We've done all the preliminary work in 5A, part 1, and today we're going to be painting that painting. So let's get to it. Pre-wet. I'm going to paint around that white box. That I'm going to leave the house white for now. Snow looks really snowy if it's blue dominant, so I'm starting with the blue. I want to have a value range that is overall light but includes some whites and some middle values, close to middle values. And I'm going to use a little crimson here, a little rose red to add some color variety, and maybe even a touch of yellow, but not a whole lot. Okay, I've lost my whites, so I'm going in with my brush, using it as a blotter, lighten some of it up. Use the scrub brush to recover the whites in that area. Now I've lost my blue. Beautiful blues that I had, so we're going to go back in. I'm going to go a little darker than I normally do. Keeping in mind that this is going to dry lighter. And it looks pretty dark for snow right now, but we'll see how it survives relative to the middle values that we're going to put in next. Okay, let's blow dry. Let's change brushes to a 1-inch flat and go ahead and paint the tree area underpainting. And we're going to keep this middle value. I'm going to mix some other color, green, to begin with. And I'm going to try to include this color, a little bit of this color, in all my washes in that area. I'm going to add a little bit of red to make it kind of a conifer green. All right. Let's see how that looks. And I don't need it dark, so we're going to keep it, add a little water to keep it a little lighter. Now the green area is right here, and I'm not pre-wetting this. but I'm going to definitely add other colors to it as I go. Relying on a dirty brush. To add another color. Soft shapes, even now. Mix more mother color. I'm going to carefully go around my hut. Now at this point, I'm going to put some really dark cast shadows underneath the trees so it will blend up into the moist mixture that we have right now with the tree. So we'll do something like this. I do want to get some lighter areas. This is pretty dark tree line. So we're going to lighten some of this up. Definitely drying faster than I like. Okay. So Colorado climate's pretty dry climate. I'm having to use a scrub brush because this paper is pretty absorbent. Okay. I want to adjust one of my shadows here. Now I'm going to try something. It may work, it may not. And that is a scrape for the two telephone poles using the aquarelle edge of this brush. Now before we go on to the darks, we need to blow dry. And our final step is going to be the the dark mountains in the background. And I'm going to mix up burnt sienna and ultramarine blue. And I'm going to treat that as a mother color just so I get all my other colors that I'm going to be tapping in dark. Yeah, juicy and dark. So I'd prefer using this combination than Payne's Gray, although Payne's Gray will do it too. It's just a little less, a little more controllable for me. So I've got here sort of a coolish, dark, and we're just going to go ahead and paint the mountains in the background. Now, I need to also cut in the top of the trees at this point. Get quite creative with that. I'm allowing some rough edges at the top. And I'm going to go in and then touch while it's still wet. Yeah, don't wait too long on this. Some other colors. All dark colors look good together, so you can get pretty dynamic with these darks. Boy, a nice dark green might be fun to play with. This is always a challenging step because I never know how quite it's going to turn out. I do know it's going to be a lot lighter than the mountains themselves. All right, this is our underpainting for Bud's Hut. It went fairly quickly. We have a light area that is soft shapes. We have a snow area that pretty much is soft shapes. And before I forget, maybe I should continue my telephone pole odyssey here a bit. Kind of blew that one. We'll have to play with it. It'll take some adjustment later on. I'm going to take a break now while this dries, and then we're going to continue on with the finishing touches. Now here we are, going to finish this painting off. Now there are a couple of little things that are bothering me, very tiny. I'm going to correct those first, and then we're going to get into adding detail. So I'm using a small scrub brush. This is a Creative Mark. It's got a nice oval aspect ratio, and I'm just going to see if I can't, what I can do to connect that bad scrape with the initial painting. So now we have sort of a broken telephone pole rather than a disconnected one. All right, the second thing I want to fix, I want to trim around the house Bud's Hut and make it a little better outline before I actually do detail in it. the smaller brush. Time and place for smaller brushes right now. Okay, now it's time for the snowfield. And let's have some fun with these details. So detail painting can be the most fun thing. Or it can be, for you personally, or it can be really troublesome area. Either one way or the other, I think, with people, in my experience. For me, this is always the hard part. But it's getting more and more fun as I paint. Now, what I did here, I outlined it and then I broke off one of the edges. And so we don't have a line, we have an edge. And you'll see that we're going to be creating a white trail. And rather than a bit of blue snow with an outline around it. Total clean brush now. I'm going to just kind of blend it out. This paper is the back side of another painting I did, and consequently it's requiring me to use a lot of brushes to get good gradation, so that's what I'm doing now. Okay, so now we have the illusion of a white trail, which was what I'm shooting for. And I'm using pure cobalt blue. I would do that rather than use ultramarine blue. Ultramarine blue is a great color, but it does tend to look a little, I don't know, purple, too purple. Now I'm just kind of breaking some edges any way I can, so it's a more interesting shape. So variety, now we're getting variety in the edge of this trail. Get rid of one of those edges. Let's take a look at foreground detail beside what I've got. Namely, first of all, we're gonna have to do something with these power poles, and I'm going to paint them a little bit. colorize them a little bit. And I'm going to use a raw sienna. All the way down here. So we have a little bit of loss there, that's good. And we're going to end up and painting the shadow. While it's still wet, we'll let it blend in here. And then we're going to take some of that and just create a cast shadow across the face of the painting. Shadows come and go. Let's let a little bit of the shadow go. So we lose edges, we pick up edges. We definitely lost our shadow continuity, so we're going to use a very dry brush. So the foreground needs some detail, and in the original painting I have weeds, so we're going to do some weeds here. And I'm going to do something in reverse. I'm going to actually paint the some weed shadows first. Shadows, I think, are just as important as the actual objects are themselves. And they're easy to get rid of if you need to make some adjustments. Okay, now let's paint the weeds. Burnt sienna, maybe a little raw sienna or yellow ochre in it. We'll see. This is basically burnt sienna with a very dry brush. This is pretty bright in my eyes. I think I'm going to just put a cast a wash on it. A little cobalt blue to cut it down. Too much, maybe. Okay, next up, I want to do just a little bit more with those trees, but I'm not going to do every pine needle or anything like that. That's not my goal here. So we'll start with lightening up some tree-like shapes. Yeah, let's paint some negative shapes to suggest some needle branches coming out. I always feel more comfortable doing negative shapes than positive shapes. I don't trust myself. Positive shapes. Now this monumental tree here is beginning to bother me a little too much, so I think I'm going to cut its size down with a dark. All right, now it's time. We'll come back to this just to see if I've done enough. I don't want to overdo this. This is the center of interest, so I'll concentrate on that. So my bud's hut is a red bud set with a white roof. Your bud set can be whatever you want. It could be a two-story mansion if you want. So I'm going to just paint the local color red. Like this. And then we'll do a shadow. I could do that right now with a pretty dry batch of cobalt blue. And then we're going to cast that shadow. Well, we're not finished with this yet, but we might have a little bit of a shadow here too. So we're not finished with that. I'm going to let that dry. And we need some texture. You know, snow can be very granular. And so I'm going to just get some dots in that area. And I'm going to use a toothbrush. Yes, a toothbrush. And I'm going to spatter some cobalt blue. Just like we did in fourth grade. Okay, it's a little overdone, but it's really easy to moderate the damage. And I'm just going to take my brush, get rid of some of the spatters. Gonna take a little more effort, I think. This scrub brush is basically a oil painting brush. So you artists probably might have one of these just around. It's a great scrub brush for large scale adjustments. All right, now let's get back to Bud's hut. Windows and doors are next. Now I'm going to keep it pretty simple. I'm just going to do dark as the symbol for windows and doors. I'm going to blow dry what I have, and then I want to cast a shadow on the hut. Okay, let's go ahead now for the final steps. And I don't like that little line there. I don't know whether you can even see it, but It breaks it up quite a bit. Okay, the last test, of course, for any painting is to put a mat around it. And see how it turns out. Okay, I think we need something here. I need to adjust these evenly spaced pieces of grass, and I'm bothered by that. So let's go ahead. And a really small scrub brush. Okay, small scrub brush. And I don't know, maybe that's probably okay. Yeah, so what can we do here? We can, I think we can put another. Who said watercolor was not adjustable? It's very changeable. But you definitely have to develop the skills for making alterations. I'm going to do a gradation up from the bottom. So it's a little darker there. Now I'm going to use a lighter, a little lighter still. This area, been very persistently not letting me scrub it out. going to blow dry it again.